Oh no, not another Sub Factory video. How much are you guys getting paid? I mean, Akai must be paying you guys to do all these Sub Factory videos. I mean, every time I come on YouTube, somebody on Sub Factory. I go to the left, Sub Factory here. Go to the right, Sub Factory there. Sub Factory everywhere. I hope y'all getting a check, because it can't be that good. Actually, it is, bro. Actually, it is. What's going on, guys? It's your brother O.T.G. The O.T.G's for Overtime Grind. Hardly seen, but I'm always around. And today, you got another Sub Factory video. Akai's not paying me. They don't even know I exist, or they do know I exist, but they don't think I'm cool enough or good enough to actually, give anything. So shout out to everybody in the community. That's how I get access to these things and to the tools. I appreciate everybody. And today we got Sub Factory on the MPC One, and we're going to see what it's like to cook up just a natural cook up. There's enough people out there to show you all kinds of different stuff, the ins and outs. We're going to just use it in a beat, see what we could come up with. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Make sure you do check out the description where there's a master class. And if you like these progressions, I just put up over 400 progressions that I've collected over the last couple years, and you can get them from my store. You can check that out in the description. Build up your progressions and get you some if you like. So we're going to talk Sub Factory, and we're going to talk making music, man. Just making music. Right now I'm going through some of the the progressions, and I'm just looking for something to kind of cook up with. I got the fast BPM. We're going to tap it in. Instead of doing 85 and 86, I know you guys are like, but on FL Studio, we do everything at 140, and you're doing it at 70 and 80. Shut up. Here, we're at 140 now. It's the same BPM. It's just double time, bro. And if you've watched some of my other videos, there's some tricks to utilizing double time and different things. But you actually have to care about producing the ins and outs and not be looking for problems if you're going to learn from what I'm trying to show you. All right? Over here, we're not Inspector Gadget. We're producers, and we produce music. So now that I know I have my chord progression, what I'm going to do is try to go over to my scales, and we're going to try to find something in key. One of the things that you could do is kind of play around with the notes, utilize your ears, use your eyes, see where it goes. Maybe it's not falling right, so use your ears and change the scale, and then that way you can kind of find a sound that matches, and then all of your notes in scales mode will be in pitch or in key. You know what I mean? Small little tidbits that definitely help you out in the long run. One of my favorite things I like about Sub Factory so far is that it sounds full right out the gate. You know what I mean? It reminds me of Sublab. I don't like comparing plugins, because once you compare plugins, then guys start crying about being in standalone and not having plugins and standalone and all this crazy stuff. But it does remind me of Sublab with how strong the bass is. You're definitely going to have to turn it down. We're going to go through, shift those notes over. I heard them play a little bit off. Go double check, make sure everything is right. Yeah, one thing I like about Sub Factory is the fact that it just sounds good, and they got a bunch of presets that are usable. We could go in and tweak, like I want it to last a little bit longer, so I'm going to change the decay. And then I want to add a little distortion, so wherever the listening environment is, you can hear it. Right now, we just cooking straight through, so we're not going to do too much. We're not going to do too much. You know, we're going to get it where we want it, get it how we like. I'm going to add a little bit of drive to it, but we're going to get to the beat. You know, we could spend all day experimenting, but I feel like this feels good and it relays the emotion that I was looking for. Let's go ahead and add a little distortion. MPC has really good effects made by the same people who make the Pro Tools effects, Air. Now we just ease off some of the mix. You ease off some of the mix, and that'll let some of our original signal come through. And that gives us the ability to have just a little bit of distortion on there. Now we want to go add some, you know, add a little sauce. Spice it up just a little bit. Use Mellotron. One of the great things is you can use some things. Don't always, here's a major key. Just because something is named a choir or named an organ or has a specific preset name doesn't mean you have to apply it in that way. Like right now, I'm going to use this choir as a synthesizer to provide the dots. You know what I mean? I like to call them dots. Some people will call them plucks. But we're going to utilize that to create some synthesized plucks. You know, don't be afraid to take sounds that are named something different, play around with the volume, play around with the placement, and then make it sound like something else. Now I'm going to add a delay, and I'm just going to go down and cut the mix down too, again, so the original signal can shine through. Hit that volume, turn it down just a little bit, put it in its place. I'm just going to name that one Dots because I like the way that sounds. Now we're going to go build a drum kit up. In my mind, I have some West Coast drums I'm going to use. So I'm going to go into one of my native instruments expansions that I made. You can get those from down in the description. Gonna go over there and we're gonna search kick. We're gonna get a couple kicks. And the kick and the bass, once you get them together, you know that's a traditional time for people to start to side chain. And I don't mind side chaining, but again, you know, if you watch my video from yesterday about going the extra mile, you know, that's something that I would experiment afterwards, after I get the beat pretty much arranged. You know what I mean? The kicks is heavy in this track. It's got a whole lot of low end now that we had the sub-factory plus the kick. Some of the sounds that we're using are in the low mids. So the whole track overall is going to sound a little muddy once I add these kicks in. But that's okay, because you got to have vision. You know what I mean? One of the things with utilizing the sub-factory plugin is you're going to have to do some work to your side chain, you can. But you know, that pumping filling and side chain filling, people feel that doesn't necessarily always work every beat, you know, so that's not something you want to overuse. You know, what you really want to do is be able to get your kick and bass to sit in the mix with working on the frequencies a little bit, or just working on the volume. This setup that I'm setting my pads up right now is drums on the bottom, perks on the top. Go ahead, name our kit. I named it West O.T.G. Make sure you head over to the Patreon link. I'm going to start sharing these kits that I make over at the Patreon for the people who are paid subscribers. You know, at the end of the week, starting this week on Friday, I'm going to do a dump, and I will upload at least 2 of the drum kits that I make during the week and make those available for you guys. You know, we working on our system on how we get this channel going, so make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment. Some basic drums set up. We're going to operate from the sample 2 screen, so then that way we can go ahead and get our volumes right. We're going to record it track for track. Something, you know, that people are saying is big in MPC 3.0, but that's something that I've always done. It's just utilize tracks. Programs are the house, the tracks is where we put people in the house on the track. We got our snare. I like using the alternative snare sometimes, gives it a good feel as well. I know if I double click the button or if I press shift and note repeat that it will latch the timing correct on the bottom. But I don't really want to do all that. I like just holding the button, especially on the MPC One, because everything's in reach with one hand, for me at least. It's a little easier for me to get it done. Now we're going to do some panning. Program edit, track edit, program edit, track edit. Stop forgetting that that's the place to be, that it exists. And that's the place where you can really change and hone and sharpen your abilities by working on the samples and working on these projects and going and tapping in on program edit, using drum effects, you know, and just kind of running through there. Now we're going to add that kick. You can tell the kick is heavy. And by the time I go and add a little bit more, it's going to be even heavier. secondary kick to add emphasis on different parts of the beat. Go ahead and fade that volume in so it sets in the mix pretty good. Now that we got pretty much the basics of the track, we can go through and start muting and seeing what we like, what we don't like. Try and gain some ideas, see how we're going to arrange this thing, how we're going to make it work, you know what I mean? Go through, name this track. It's important to keep all your tracks named, especially if you're coming back and you are going to work on this later. You know, one of the things, one of my guys, Magic, was saying in the comments of one of the videos is how important it is to save your tracks in a way that you know. So then that way when you come back, you can work on them and you know what it is. I like to save my tracks with the date in them, you know, and when I go to a save, I do a full save. I save each one of the presets. I save the drum kit. I do an audio mix down. I do a track out mix down, and I do an Ableton mix down. I save all of those, and I put them all inside of a folder. So then that way, and also inside of the title, I save the BPM. So then that way, if I'm ever in a rush or I'm going to a studio or I'm just looking for some beats and I want to dump them, I could just either grab the SD card out of the MPC One, pop it in my laptop, pop it in my computer, and then I could go right to my beat folder and drop all that stuff on the computer, and I have everything lined out. I have the track outs, I have the audio tracks, I have a loose version of the beat, so then I could take the track outs and recreate the 2-track. You know, saving of your music is extremely important, and it's one of the most important things you could do having a studio. You know, years ago, right now, I'm just adding in a synth to come in certain parts. When I first started creating music in my 20s, I'm 44 now, I was 21 when I started. I had never been in a studio, a proper studio. You know, I lived in southern Indiana when I started music. And I started on FL Studio. I had nobody to teach me. I was the smartest person in the room. So I was the person learning how to build the studio on the computer. You know, one of the first people to have Pro Tools on laptops. You know, first with the mobile studio in my city. And one of the things that I didn't do when I was younger, you know, a part of how I ended up signing bad deals and not making as much money as I should have as a young producer, is I didn't properly save my beats. I didn't properly save my beats. I didn't properly save my files. So in 2006, when I got my first major placement on Port of Miami with Rick Ross, you know, I ended up losing a lot of different things and having to work a different deal out, you know, and ended up kind of getting some ghost production because the actual beat that I sold, I didn't have the track out, you know, and that was at the time of using Fruity Loops and Ableton and freezing tracks and all this other stuff, you know. You could tell by the way that I make beats off the top of the head, so can't necessarily come back and replay it, you know what I mean? Like, I just make 100 beats a day. I follow the vibes. I've always been that kind of producer. And 2011, when I moved to Philadelphia and I started working more as a manager, I got my first job in a studio, Jazz You Up Studios, which became Do For Self Studios. one of the famous studios you could see Meek Mill and Beanie Siegel in. As I worked in that studio for a couple of years. We had archive days, and I started to understand how important it is to archive your sessions, archive your beats, and save your beats properly. I don't know if any other guys talk about that, but that's something that's genuinely helped me out a lot, This is also where you build the confidence of understanding how you can move through the beats how we just did. We can listen through all of the stuff we're going to fix because we know the save is good, and we can further get that in the computer and get more meticulous if we need to, if the beat goes for sale. Quickly, someone else asked in another comment about mastering beats. I don't master my beats. I don't do that. The beats aren't finalized. I'm not just selling a final beat that's going to always be an instrumental. Like the goal is to have artists on there. So, I'm not going to pay for mastering or spend the time mastering just to have to send the raw track out and it to be remastered again. So that's kind of my idea on that. Look at that, guys. My final thoughts on a Sub Lab Sub Factory is it's great, man. I definitely think it's worth a purchase. I love it in standalone. I feel like my MPC is complete with all the plugins and different things that I have, stem separation. I'm thankful and I'm blessed. And I hope you try it out, and I hope you feel the same way, man. Don't look for negatives. We're looking for all the positives to create music. Hopefully you found some value in the things that I dropped today. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment. And guess what, guys? 20 minutes, another beat done, another no edits. Like, we get this done, bro. We get it done. It's big O.T.G. That's overtime grind. And you be on your grind too. I appreciate you guys, and I hope everything is well. Have a great day. Another one.